I'm not hearing a lot of chatter about the 25th Amendment. Let's explore that and the Supreme Court's decision today with our next guest, Tom Fitton. He's the president of Judicial Watch and the author of A Republic Under Assault. Tom, good to have you back with us, sir.
Hey, Vince, good to be with you again. Thank you.
I recall, Tom, that, and I know you do too, that when President Trump was in office, the left never stopped screeching about the 25th Amendment, that it was time to remove Trump from office. They never had any basis for it. But, boy, you see Joe Biden on that debate stage and certainly in every public event he does these days, and you think, how is that guy president of the United States? Why aren't we hearing any chatter about the 25th Amendment?
Well, because you would need really a bipartisan consensus to remove him from office, assuming he objected to removal. The way the process works, and I wrote about it in the Washington Times the other day, even before the debate, is that the vice president and the majority of council and the majority of his cabinet would basically tell the Congress he's disabled. And if Biden agreed, that would be the end of it. And Kamala Harris wouldn't be president; she'd be acting president, and he'd still be president, but he wouldn't be He wouldn't have any power. Now, if Biden objected, the Congress would have to decide the issue and find him disabled and could only find him disabled and remove him effectively with a two-thirds vote in both houses. So obviously the hurdles would be high, but in the least, given Biden's cognitive difficulties we've all witnessed, it seems to me incumbent upon the vice president and her colleagues in the cabinet to ask Joe Biden to undergo a battery of tests to reassure them and the American people he's capable of serving now. I mean, to me, I know it's a political question in the bigger sense of the word, but this shouldn't be a partisan issue. I mean, would you want him to be your judge in a case or your doctor? Of course not. So why would we want him to be the president? And there needs to be some...
I'm sorry. I'm just saying, I saw someone express the other day that, if this were your father, would you leave him alone? And the answer to that is no, you wouldn't, actually. You wouldn't leave Joe Biden by himself. You would figure out a way to get him taken care of, or you would take care of him yourself.
And if it were a Republican, everyone would be talking about the 25th Amendment, as you opened up with. And I think there should be pressure. Voters should communicate with the vice president. Voters should communicate with the cabinet agencies. They're his cabinet. They're accountable for this. I mean, that's their duty under the 25th Amendment. They've got this responsibility to ensure he's not disabled. And it looks to me like he is. And in the least, they should be taking steps that are credible to ascertain that one way or the other. And, they could decide that, they could get some independent medical people come in and say, well, he has his good days and bad days, but day to day he should be fine. And that could be the end of it. Or they could find him disabled and they have to pursue his removal under the 25th Amendment.
So, I was talking to some friends about this morning, all Trump supporters, and their view is one of the things that a friend of mine brought up was like, hey, I don't like when the right's talking about the 25th Amendment right now because we want Biden on the ticket. We really want him come election day to be on the ticket. So why would you induce a 25th Amendment toss of Biden? And my response was, I just think this is the perfect issue because, one, the left's not going to do it as much as they should. I mean, as a matter of decency, they should. The left's not going to do it because that's how much they crave power. They want to hold on to it. And the other piece is like, this just demonstrates to the average American how completely fraudulent and corrupt they are. This is the single greatest case for the 25th Amendment in American history. And they're not even willing to entertain it or even utter the words, Tom Fitton, which really goes to show you who they are.
Yeah, I understand politically people may want Biden to be around, but I don't think it's worth the risk. He's got his finger on the button.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't be making decisions. I mean, the world is watching, and we can't wait 4 months or 6 months, really, right?
Yeah.
If assuming he loses. And so if you're concerned that he's not capable of being president, then it seems to me we've got an obligation as citizens, and government officials have an obligation similarly, to ensure the country's protected by having someone who's competent. Now, I don't think much of Kamala Harris, but constitutionally she's the vice president, And, she is what she is, and she's capable of being president under the current circumstances, in the sense that she can make a decision that you can trust, not be compromised by a cognitive challenge and dementia.
Yeah, it may be compromised for other reasons, but not for cognitive
dementia.
But
that's the political analysis. The thing is, we can't have someone with dementia as president of the United States. And if indeed he has it, and doctors find he's disabled, he shouldn't be there. And he can't be there any minute longer than necessary.
Yeah. And the people who have covered it up, they should be judged for that. And that is a political thing. You should judge them, including Kamala Harris, and hold them accountable in November if all of this comes to pass. Let me move.
Well, that's a corruption issue too, Vince. That's a corruption issue too. Yeah,
definitely. Let me move to the big decision today. The United States Supreme Court came out today and pretty implicitly, but I think obviously, roundhouse kicked Joe Biden's abuse of power. They said that Biden's prosecution of Trump and any president, for that matter, former president, can't be prosecuted for official acts they took while they were in office. The left is apoplectic about this. They're creating all sorts of fear-mongering doomsday scenarios involving SEAL Team 6 executing political opponents. What do you make of today's decision, Tom Fitton?
It's unsurprising and really no big deal given the way our country's history is going. I mean, the presumption has been you don't prosecute presidents for being presidents. You can't jail a president for his acts as president. Just the way you can't jail a judge for being a judge, or a congressman over his speech or debate in Congress. All sorts of immunities are out there for government officials. Mm-hmm. And this clarifies that Biden's unprecedented attempt to jail President Trump for what Biden acknowledges to be, and by Biden I mean Jack Smith. Jack Smith is his avatar. Official acts as president. That's not going to work. Now, is he above the law? No, but the Constitution protects him for his official acts as president. And frankly, if I'm Jack Smith and I see the writing on the wall here, I give up. But we'll see. I mean, because they've been vicious and vindictive, so I don't know if they will give up.
Yeah.
But the court has set up so many hurdles for Smith to pursue Trump on issues for which, according to the Supreme Court, he has presumptive presidential immunity, like his work related to dispute in the election. I mean, how is Jack Smith going to distinguish President Trump's official interest and political and personal interest? That's not going to work.
Jack Smith's record before the United States Supreme Court is awful. He's gone up before the court and he keeps getting his tail handed to him. He got overturned in an 8-0 decision when he went after former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. And the Supreme Court smacked him down. And then Merrick Garland chose that guy to go after Trump, again, as Biden's avatar. And it makes me think, as I'm looking at this now, this is kind of why Merrick Garland chose him, isn't it, Tom Fitton? The guy has no scruples. He doesn't care what the rules are or should be. He's going to carry out the political hatchet attack.
Yeah, and Garland's ultimately responsible about this. You say Jack Smith has been failing. It's the Garland Justice Department that's been pushing this. Yeah. They've unleashed Jack Smith on a Republican. Thankfully, the Supreme Court said, no, we're not jailing presidents for simply being a president. And he has the protections every other president has had since the beginning of our history. And there's nothing it's constitutional, this protection. So it's not that he's above the law. It means that the Constitution protects him. Yes. This is the application of the law. And, the left's reaction encouraging Biden jokingly to go and kill their political opponents and jail people. Well, this is insanity. And justices talking about democracy. This is just a basic immunity issue. I mean, is there any doubt that you can't prosecute Justice Sotomayor for having a crappy Supreme Court decision? Of course not.
Right. And these are protections also for Biden. I mean, nobody's acknowledging that today. But anybody who, if you were establishing a precedent that you could prosecute a former president, Biden is lining himself up for that very thing right now. Especially with the hundreds of thousands of Americans dying due to the border crisis. He's aiding and abetting all this human trafficking. He's importing all these foreign nationals into our country, and there's all these ensuing problems that come with it. The court's decision today precludes Biden from being prosecuted for any official acts he takes while he's president of the United States right now.
Yeah, and the fact that they're ignoring that highlights that this has always been about Trump. They want to blow up the Constitution to get Trump, and they pretend it won't have any repercussions down the line. And thankfully, the Supreme Court is adult enough to say, well, that's not sensible. That's not what the law is. That's not what their Constitution provides for. Our founders set up this system to protect our liberties.
Right.
We're not going to have these self-coups every 4 years where presidents prosecute their predecessors.
Yeah. What did you think of Justice Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion today? He wrote that Jack Smith's appointment appears to be unconstitutional, that it's not found anywhere in either the Constitution or in statute. Congress has passed no law suggesting that a private citizen can be arbitrarily named special counsel by the Attorney General and then go on to prosecute another private citizen. He's saying pretty strongly there's no basis anywhere for Jack Smith's appointment or his prosecutions, and that all of these prosecutions may need to be thrown out.
Yeah, I've been yelling about that since Mueller. I mean, unless someone's been appointed by the president or reports to someone appointed by the president on a day-to-day basis and confirmed by the Senate, they can't be throwing people in jail. So Garland can hire Michelle Obama to prosecute people, or me, and just let me do it with no supervision? Of course not. And Justice Thomas is making, again, a commonsensical point that everyone gets upset about because they don't care about the rules. It's about destroying Trump and destroying their political opposition. These are dangerous times, and the Supreme Court highlights how close we are to a true banana republic, because on the other end are three justices, an entire Justice Department and media ecosystem that wants to throw out the civil liberties of American citizens such as Trump, the prerogatives of a president under our constitutional separation of powers, which, by the way, isn't set up to, quote, protect Trump, but to protect our liberty by dividing powers among Congress and the president and the judiciary.
Yes.
And when Congress says, I'm going to jail a president because because we don't like his official acts, the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. And Biden can't try to do that for them.
Yeah. And it's not about Trump specifically. It's about the will of the voters. They really resent voters who back Trump and put him in office. Tom Fitton, thank you very much. President of Judicial Watch, author of A Republic Under Assault, always fighting for the country. Tom, thank you very much. Good to talk to you today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Vince.
That's Tom.